Hi, everybody. Let's go ahead and get started. Thanks so much for joining us today. My name is Christy Funk, and it's my privilege to welcome you to the Startup NASA Feature Series. This series is hosted by NASA's Tech Transfer Expansion Program, where we do just that. We expand upon the mission of tech transfer to ensure that innovations developed for exploration and discovery are broadly available to the public. And we do this with a focus on entrepreneurial innovation to accelerate commercialization and new venture creation. Our monthly startup series is an opportunity for companies to share their experiences of launching their NASA technology-based businesses. And today we're going to hear from Simpli-Fi Automation. But before we begin, I'd like to point out that your microphones will be muted throughout the presentation. So if you have questions, please type them into the chat box. It's in the lower corner of your screen, and we'll have an opportunity for Q&A at the end of the presentation. So thanks again for joining, and it's now my pleasure to introduce today's speaker, Chris Campbell, and provide some background on him. Chris is the CEO at Simpli-Fi Automation. It's a startup shaping the future of automation with a blend of leadership and innovation. Chris has driven significant business growth and market expansion for Simpli-Fi Automation, including forging impactful partnerships with the Cleveland Clinic, AgSen, and NASA. Chris earned a bachelor's degree in electronic systems engineering technology from ECPI, and a Bachelor of Science in Theology from the Minnesota School of Theology. He began his career as an installer in the security alarm and home automation field, progressing through various roles such as system designer, project manager, and sales manager at leading U.S. automation companies. And he pioneered voice-activated home automation systems and was instrumental in driving sales growth and leading cultural transformations, particularly at Synergy Systems based in Florida. Simpli-Fi Automation was established in 2018 and set out to revolutionize building and home automation systems design and installation. The company itself navigated through the pandemic challenges of COVID-19 by pivoting into electronic device development and developed the BedBox, which is a novel voice-activated home hospital bed controller, while collaborating with NASA's Tech Transfer Program and ultimately resulting in the development of the Provectus sensor chip. The company has grown from a one-person team to 15 employees, achieving over $1 million in sales by December 2019, and it continues to thrive post-pandemic. In the future, Chris aims to establish US-based manufacturing for the Provectus sensor chips and devices, and working on collaborative projects such as partnering with the Cleveland Clinic for human trials of the innovation. He is certainly positioning Simpli-Fi as a front runner in telehealth. So with that, I'll turn it over to Hia and Chris to launch a video and allow Chris to share his story.
Welcome to the future of telehealth. Introducing Prevectus, advanced telehealth diagnostic tool. The Prevectus was designed to provide deep space astronauts with comprehensive medical diagnostics while on long-term missions. The core of this technology is a unique single-wall carbon nanotube sensor chip that can detect molecular compounds in exhaled breath. These chemical building blocks make up specific health biomarkers that the sensor can detect and quantify. It has widely been accepted that every disease or biological condition has a specific breath-borne chemical biomarker associated with it. The Provectus sensor can detect and identify virtually any known biomarker carried on the breath. The sensor system deployed on the Provectus medical diagnostic device rival that of any modern doctor's office. In the device is an array SWCNT chip biometric sensor. A comprehensive medical diagnostic is generated by utilizing a proprietary deep belief network, artificial intelligence algorithm, to analyze the compiled MEMS and the SWCNT sensor array data. The purpose is to render a reliable medical diagnosis and treatment recommendation. The result is a cost-effective telemedicine diagnostic tool that can be used on a PC with a physician, as a standalone device, or as a Bluetooth home care kit for the elderly or the immobile. Other applications for the Provectus medical diagnostic device are protecting soldiers on military deployment, enabling first responders to make more informed field diagnostics, providing healthcare to rural and underserved populations, reducing network healthcare cost, providing safety to people in extreme working conditions, and many more. In this video, we are going to demonstrate the use and best practices of the Provectus medical diagnostic device. We will explore the different assessment options and their results. Let's begin our journey into the next chapter of telehealth.
Welcome, everybody. My name is Chris Campbell, CEO and founder of Simpli-Fi Automation. Today is a really exciting day for the team at Simpli-Fi Automation, along with all of our research collaborators and development partners. This project represents decades of investment and resources into the NASA R&D ecosystem, as well as countless hours from a worldwide team of research scientists, engineers, chemists, and biologists. Today, we're going to provide a glimpse into the advantages of the NASA Technology Transfer Program and how it can empower startups like Simpli-Fi Automation to deliver substantially beneficial technologies to the world. But before we do that, I want us to engage our imaginations for a second. Think first of all the benefits technology has given us as it was endowed with the senses. It first had the sense of sight, the digital camera. Every one of us has one of those on their phone in our pockets right now. The sense of hearing, the digital microphone. The sense of touch by capacitive touch sensors. But what about the sense of smell? And even more so, the sense of taste. So let's think about some of the capabilities associated with smell. So we're all aware of how powerful a dog's sense of smell is. It's common understanding that the olfactory receptors in a dog's nose are 10,000 to 100,000 times more accurate or acute than humans. These sensory receptors are very, very powerful applications. One example is that a dog trained can detect cancer on a patient's breath. In fact, a recent study demonstrated that trained dogs can detect cancer with up to 97.6% accuracy. That's clinically relevant. Man's best friend does this by smelling changes in the over 3,000 chemicals that are being exhausted from your breath. The key is, the human body is one of the universe's greatest chemistry labs. Every function in the body has a chemical cause and a chemical reaction. Our lungs are the exhaust system of this chemical lab. So let's ask a question. What if there was an olfactory sensory a technology that could be developed that is 1,000 times more sensitive than even the most sensitive dog's nose? Now imagine if that power of smell was coupled with artificial intelligence. The applications are pretty staggering here. So let's explore some of the key areas in which these technologies could have a positive impact on humanity. The first is healthcare. So the healthcare system worldwide faces many challenges in providing affordable care to everyone. Even in the US, one of the most developed countries in the world, there are over 133 million Americans, that's 40% of the population, that suffer from at least one chronic disease. But only 8% of American citizens receive all of the early screening that's required or recommended. Up to 25% of the US citizens receive absolutely no early screening. And that's even when they're covered by insurance. So that's a major problem here. The lack of regular screening costs the US over $55 billion annually, as well as a dramatic decrease in productivity, as well as decrease in quality of life. The negative impact on society as a whole is monumental. So another area where this sense of smell could have a powerful impact is environmental monitoring and air quality control. So poor air quality leads to a lot of different health effects. Pollutants affect our lungs, our blood system. They cause enormous effect on health, which has an enormous toll on the economy of the US as well as productivity in the US. Another area where this sensor technology could be applied is in health and fitness. Um, Namely, peak human performance is achieved when all metabolic systems are functioning properly. Very simply stated, uh, you can only improve what you can measure. So not having the ability to proficiently or efficiently qualify those metabolic patterns gives us a disadvantage. So athletes face these variety of challenges in maximizing their human performance, and some things that they need to know are: what is the level of oxidative stress? What's their digestive health? How is their body converting the food or energy they're putting in into the energy and resources to provide a maximum human performance? Other areas are pH level, hydration, fatigue levels. These are all things that athletes would need to know to truly maximize their human performance. And this type of data is very, very difficult to acquire. It usually requires visiting a elite athletic training lab that has associated with it all the machines and equipment to gather this type of data. So for the average citizen, it's not something you can achieve. So because of this inability to get that information, the results are a one size fits all approach to nutrition. Whereas we're all unique individuals with our own unique chemistries. And in order to effectively change those metrics, we need to know what the unique individual chemistry is of the person being trained. So let's now talk about how the technology Simpli-Fi has licensed from NASA can empower these very things that we are now imagining. So I want to introduce to you first, and we're really excited about this, Provectus. Um, Provectus is a artificial intelligence powered olfactory sensor chip that gives artificial intelligence the sense of smell. The sensor represents a quantum leap forward in portable analytic chemistry. The sensor is designed to be a miniature alternative to the gold standard of analytic chemistry, which is gas chromatography and mass spectrometry, known as GCMS. For our sensor is an array of 32 microscopic carbon nanotube chemiresistive sensors. The Provectus sensor can provide real-time chemical analysis of a variety of volatile organic compounds, including alkynes, ketones, alcohols, aromatics, and amines. The ability to identify and quantify chemicals such as acetone, ammonia, pentane, methane, and a full spectrum of others offers the sensor the ability to map the chemical compounds in our breath. And that's the fundamental baseline of a breath biomarker. So the foremost application for this technology is in analyzing human breath. The sensor can map or identify smell prints in a human's breath. These smell impressions are referred to as breath biomarkers. So currently, GCMS is used around the world to study breath biomarkers, and that area of study is called Breathomics. There have been over 162 diseases that have been validated using breath biomarkers. And the Provectus sensor is designed to provide a miniaturized version of that technology. For those who are unfamiliar with gas chromatography and mass spectrometry, these are very, very large pieces of equipment that need a house in a lab. It's not something that can usually be at a point of care or in a clinic. It's usually regulated to a specific chemical lab. And our sensor chip allows that large piece of equipment to be brought down to a sensor that's less than the size of a dime. And that brings us to the device that we've created with this sensor technology. And it's the Provectus telehealth monitoring device. This technology combines the revolutionary NASA eNOS technology with a series of onboard biometric sensors. This creates a monitoring platform that's easy to use, cost-effective, and accurate. Accuracy is the key. Now, we found that in early research of the technology, that in order to achieve clinically relevant data from the breath, we had to combine other sensing technologies that were able to validate what we were finding with the breath sensor. This was needed to be able to confirm what we were finding with the breath sensor. We discovered that biomarkers from well-established technologies such as pulse oximeters, temperature sensor, ECG sensor could be combined to create an accuracy of up to 98%. Again, we've reached that clinical relevance when we hit those numbers. And that's for early diagnosis. This system is designed to detect these chemicals before the person's become symptomatic. And these combined technologies in this cost-effective handheld platform constitute that lower cost, continuous care that we designed into this product. So let's talk about how the Provectus device can empower healthcare, and namely telehealth care. So our focus and vision for this product is as an early introduction to the system. It's a way for early monitoring and continuous monitoring of the chemicals that are created when these disease states happen. So this platform is specifically designed to be a canary in the coal mine. It's engineered to monitor daily changes in body chemistry and provide early warning when those chemistries are trending towards a disease state. The platform is designed to provide continuous monitoring and catch changes in chemistry before the user becomes symptomatic. By providing early notification, users can quickly receive the clinical medical attention they need to prevent the full-blown disease onset. The system is not designed to replace blood testing or comprehensive metabolic panels. I want to be very, very clear about that. That was never its intent. Its design is to prompt users to get comprehensive screening with intelligence before the imbalance turns into a chronic disease. So this is all about preventative care. It's monitoring your chemistry so that you can detect beforehand using predictive analytics on what the potential of you developing that disease into full status. So another very powerful area that Provectus will operate in, and in fact, this is going to be our beachhead market, the one that we're going to release the product in first, is in fitness. It's in increasing human performance. And we do that by measuring key gases in the breath, like acetone, pentane, methane, and a list of others that give us biomarkers onto individual function of metabolic processes. So from this, we're able to analyze on an ongoing basis the changes that your fitness regimen have on your body. How are these exercises affecting my gut digestive health, the hydration levels, metabolic rates? For one example, acetone is a chemical that we can measure that will give us a very clear indication of the metabolic or fat burning rate. We can determine whether your body is burning fat or carbohydrates. And that information alone becomes a powerful tool in shaping athletic performance and basically increasing physical fitness. So let's talk about some of our research collaborators. These are some companies that joined us early on, and we consider this a pretty early stage in this full development process, and they're helping us validate the technology. They're helping us prove the concept, and a concept that we got from NASA was that the sensor could be used for clinical medical diagnostics. And the Cleveland Clinic is one of our first partners that's helping us validate those findings in a clinical environment. So we have NF1, which is NeuroForce 1. That's where we started gathering the breath prints of healthy athletes. These are athletes that are world-class competitors at the peak of health. And with NeuroForce 1, we've been able to determine how the breath is affected in the course of physical activity and how that can be used to increase human performance for these athletes. And what we've done is basically gather the prints of what an athlete looks like in different stages of performance: before they've engaged, before they've eaten, after they've engaged in 2 or 3 hours of activity. And we can look at those traits and trends and determine when is the best time to introduce supplements, when is the best time to rest, when does your body need to recuperate from the activities it did the day before. Those are all metrics that we're learning how to see using this artificial intelligence technology. Our main our research partner is obviously NASA. First in the research license with NASA, and then now in the commercialization license with NASA, and using resources like the NASA Space Act Agreement that really empower the research and validation that needs to happen with these technologies. So we're going to talk next about some of the products that we're creating with these technologies. All of our products are designed to benefit health. They're designed to monitor health in different areas and different applications. Our flagship product is the Provectus telehealth monitoring system. It's a breath biomarker, a breath biologic device that operates as a breathalyzer. You breathe into the device and it's going to do a chemical analysis of your breath. And it also takes biometric sensors to give your telehealth practitioners real-time data about the need of whether you need clinical blood test or metabolic labs, or whether an intervention is justified at an early stage. So the first device that I mentioned was the Provectus telehealth, which is focusing on sports and wellness, and it's going to be a handheld breathalyzer device. The second device that we're engaging in testing out with the Cleveland Clinic is the Provectus Canary. It uses the same sensor, but instead of analyzing chemicals in the breath, it's analyzing chemicals in the environment. And is looking for chemicals that are related to certain diseases like C. diff, which is one of the nation's highest cause of in-hospital acquired infection. It costs the U.S. Economy over $5 billion a year. And this Provectus Canary is designed to sit in the room and constantly smell the room for smells that are associated with these infections. The other collaborative device we're doing is with Careth Strength, which is a device that's designed to smell the VOCs emanating from sweat. And this is used in a system that's designed to measure the effectiveness of strength training. All right, so let's make sure everything's seen. So we'll go to the next one. Let's talk about the market and what this device is going to drive. So again, I stated this device isn't designed to compete with labs. It's designed to promote labs. So in essence, we're designed to steer users to the clinical labs they need and the diagnostics they need early. So some of those big players in this market are LabCorp and Quest Diagnostics. LabCorp views over 6 million patients per year, and Quest Diagnostics looks at 86 million patients per year. And they're basically taking the requirements from doctors from these users to get their early screenings. Our device is designed to steer users to those resources early, before they become symptomatic and the doctor's now diagnosing a disease. Our device is designed to push those users into the lab, into the clinical lab, before they know they need to go. It's been proven that most people don't go until the disease is already manifested. So the overall opportunity for the market is acting almost like a octane boost to the laboratory market, where our device will prompt users to engage. So the total size, I'm sorry. All right, so the total size of our addressable market, which is the telehealth device market. So the overall size of the telehealth market itself is $48 billion just in the US. But to gauge our addressable market, we're looking at the home health monitoring device market, which is $2.7 billion and a CAGR of 28%. But the main market we're focusing on in the long term of our company is the AI-powered healthcare system. That's an over $188 billion addressable market worldwide. We are focusing on the space in the long term, with our initial beachheads being the health and fitness market in the US. The end result is that this platform will support the general medical device market. Artificial intelligence and medical devices are going to join in a way that's not separatable. So the overall addressable market size for that market is $511 billion per year. So let's talk about where the vision takes us, because the vision, I believe, is one of the most important parts of any company. Oh, sorry. So this is where our vision of birthing a new generation of AI cooperation begins. By empowering AI with the sense of smell, we're taking one more giant leap toward the future of mankind. This is a future where we have made healthcare more accessible, affordable, and effective, and by this, contributing to a healthier and happier world. So this is the part where I want to take a little bit of time to speak about the journey of Simpli-Fi. Anyone who's ever participated in any type of development knows that the path to commercialization is rarely straight and narrow, and there's rarely everything lined up for easy pickings. And our path has been no different. We didn't take a direct calling to this; it kind of landed in our lap. So it started in 2018 when Simpli-Fi was first formed as an electronic system engineering firm. We formed to provide systems integration solutions for commercial building automation, as well as video surveillance and security alarm monitoring. The first 2 years of business led us to a great place. By the end of 2019, we had completed over 100 large building automation projects, hired some of the best engineering and installation talent in Florida, and signed a lease for a brand new showroom that I personally had been dreaming and planning for over 2 decades. So it was a great moment in time. That was 2019. In fact, in December, we achieved our largest sales month by far. We hit $1 million in sales in 1 month. And we all rightfully believed this is the beginning of something great. And then January of 2020 came. And that's when a lot of things changed for Simpli-Fi. We call it the get smacked in the face year. And that constitutes probably the biggest challenge that we as a company and I myself personally ever experienced in life. That was the COVID-19 pandemic. So in 2020, within 6 months of the new year, we went from having a straight upward trajectory to having to lay off around 15 staff members and cancel almost all of our open contracts. We were mandated to follow the federal COVID shutdown, and we did so. We complied. The shakeup prompted a major pivot in the company to avoid becoming a statistic, and that means 40% of minority business owners had to shut their business down during the COVID pandemic. And we weren't immune to that. We had to reimagine exactly who and what we were going to be, because it became evident that the business model that we had successfully created was not going to work the next 3, maybe even 5 years. And at that stage, none of us really knew what the future was going to hold. Now, as you can understand, it took several months of sleepless nights, having to collectively wrestle with leaving our comfort zone and going that we had collectively been in for over 2 decades and take a deep leap of faith into a relatively unknown space. A space that had no guarantee of success as we viewed it from what we were doing over the last 2 years. So with the skeleton crew that we retained, we decided to pivot from designing electrical systems to designing electronic devices, a very, very close proximity. And for us and for our skill set, it was an easy translation. A lot of the tools applied, a lot of the skill set and thought processes applied. So we made the jump. And 2021 is really where I'll say the magic started to happen. That's where we decided to fully make the pivot. We retooled. We received a small friends and family investment from Brown Venture Group, and we poured the revenue we had made over the last 2 years back into retooling and retraining our small engineering team at that point. Excuse me. So we took inspiration from our automation experience and decided to design a home hospital bed controller that empowered immobile people with the ability to control their home hospital bed, which there's, over 1 million small electric home hospital beds in the US, and give these users autonomy over their life. That was prompted by a really powerful experience I had in my career while I was spearheading voice automation. My team designed a voice automated system for a gentleman who was a quadriplegic. He had lost all mobility and all autonomy. And seeing how that changed his life, giving the ability for him to control not only his TV and his, air conditioning, but the bed he was in. That was a major transformational point for us. And from that inspiration, we decided to create a device from it. And we had a lot of success. We created what we called the bed box. It was a voice activated electronic home hospital bed. And while we were looking for the design of the bed, we were looking for a sensor that would allow us to detect if the user had an accident in the bed. From the feedback we were getting while designing, our users said that's probably one of the biggest things that matters to them. They sometimes can't feel when they've had an accident, and they wanted to know. And better yet, they wanted their caretakers to be notified the moment they had an accident, so you can avoid things like bed sores and just all the damage that comes from laying in ammonia. So it was during the successful deployment of that product that we started looking for that sensor, and that's where the introduction to NASA happened. Our venture capital firm, Brown Venture Group, introduced us to the NASA Technology Transfer Program. And that's really probably the most pivotal point in our company's development, is that introduction. So we were introduced to the concept of tech transfer. And we were introduced to the NASA website, the tech transfer website, which is available to the public. And on this website was a catalog of the most amazing technologies that I had ever seen. And keep in mind, I had been an electrical engineer for 25 years at this point. I had seen almost all of the cool technologies that I knew exist, but this was different. These were technologies that were in the lab, not yet in the market. A different level of complexity, a different level of research and development. So we were introduced to the portfolio, and in the process of looking for this sensor, we came upon the NASA electronic nose, and that was the game changer. We determined, we learned about the technology. We engaged with NASA for a 1-year research license that would allow us to prove the concept, to get support from NASA to do a feasibility study and see if this technology was actually doable. Now, as an engineer, I have a tendency to be pragmatic, and I really try to shun what I'll call irrational exuberance. And in this case, I had a high degree of skepticism, not in whether the technology could work, because I read the papers from NASA, I saw the proofs of concept that they did, and I knew it could be done. My skepticism was more in my team's ability to solve the many technical challenges that existed with this technology and move it from the lab into the market space. As an engineer, I knew that's not an easy task. And remember, at this point, we're a small engineering firm. We are not what you would consider a NASA partner, someone like Lockheed Martin or SpaceX, some of these larger corporations. We were a small group of engineers that didn't consider ourselves NASA partnership material. But the research license was a success. And in 22, we moved from a research license into a commercialization license. We began to dive into the fabrication and manufacturing of a technology that didn't exist in the space in the US. Neither did the partnerships that were required for us to easily go to a market with that device. It required some digging and some method. So in that year, in fact, that year we consider the year of team building. That's where we really reached out to our development partners. We formed partnerships and gained insight from companies who were already in the space developing these types of technologies. So in that year, we completed our initial device design. We completed our all of our metadata studies and our proof of concept studies and all of the the fundamental scientific research that needs to happen before you act. And we filed our provisional patent and assembled our alpha prototype, which is a big clunky box to prove the concept, and it proved it wonderfully. Now, we understood that this would not be a short-term mission. We understood the complexity and the challenges here, so we prepared ourselves for a multi-year and possibly multi-decade approach. And that kind of leads us into 2023. 2023 we considered the year of progress. Now, after receiving our fellowship round of funding from Brown Venture Group, we were able to push the project further and get into our full development and our full beta prototyping, which is our market prototype. During this year, we also filed our non-provisional patent application and successfully fabricated the commercial version of the NASA eNose sensor, which in itself is a huge feat. And shout out to my whole team for doing that. And that was the beginning of the Provectus device creation. So we also partner with manufacturing partners such as Optimec, Machining Technology, and WareCorp, and other US-based leaders in nanofabrication to really answer the technical challenges that still lay in front of us. So that brought us to 2023. Now let's talk about the path ahead. We're starting in 2024, and this is the year about proof. This is the year of validation for us. And we call it the year of validation and manufacturing. So Simpli-Fi first partnered with Cleveland Clinic to study the Provectus eNose sensor for clinical applications, starting with the monitoring of C. diff, one of the most dangerous and expensive forms of hospital-acquired infection in the US. Simpli-Fi also partnered with Neuroforce One to study breathomics and human athletic performance in the most elite athletes in the US. We also began scaled manufacturing processes for our Provectus device, enabling that we can not only produce quality prototypes, but we can produce these sensors in the millions and eventually hundreds of millions. Simpli-Fi also began scaled manufacturing of the Provectus sensor. So 2024 is where we also move into preparing for the market. We're going to be doing our seed round of funding in 2024 with the aim to raise $30 million. This is going to help us complete our manufacturing facility in St. Paul, Minnesota, prepare for scaled manufacturing, as well as prepare for our early market release of the Provectus sports version. And that sports version is going to measure between 4 and 8 gases as they relate to human performance. We also will submit our FDA 510K application for FDA approval for the Provectus C. diff monitor as a result from the validations we have with Cleveland Clinic. That's going to be the first of many diseases that we study throughout this process. We're going to attack one by one, validating that what's already been found with GCMS can now be found with the eNose, and if those, we fully expect those to match up. So 2025 is when we plan to release the Provectus Sport device to the market, which is a non-FDA regulated health and fitness device. We will also market the Provectus Canary, a non-FDA regulated tool that detects the presence of C. diff in ambient air in the clinical environment. At that time, in 2025, we plan on holding our Series A funding round with a raise of $120 million to fund our market release of the Provectus telehealth as a home-based medical monitoring device, which will happen in 2026. So that's our runway, the next 3 years before we're prepared to release an early version of this device in the market as a clinical device. Our first market is going to be as a health and fitness device, so we can gain the data we need for clinical validation. So now let's quickly talk about our leadership team. I'm going to focus on our board of directors, which is world-class. Our board of directors consists of top experts in the fields of manufacturing, operational excellence, corporate governance, finance, marketing, and system integration. Our software and hardware development teams span the globe and include some of the world's foremost experts in artificial intelligence, medical device development, software design, and electronics engineering. It is also our collaborative partnerships with companies like Optimec, WareCorp, Accent, Altered Carbon, RealNose, the list is pretty long, the NASA Ames Research Facility, Cleveland Clinic, Neuroforce One, Innovation Wellness Solutions, CareStrength, and many others. Those are really the companies who have been empowering our ability to get to this starting point. So please, let's be particularly keen to mention though the countless research grants from graduate students all over the country that have studied the chemical functionalizations needed for these sensor elements and the thousands of hours in research from NASA Ames teams. And certainly, I would say most importantly, the inventor, Dr. Jean Ling, the principal investigator at NASA Ames Research Facility. It's really Dr. Lee's ideas and incredible hard work that this project is founded on. So all of our thanks and really appreciation go to her. And with that, I say thank you for helping us get here. We're one step closer to really achieving our dream, which is providing the future of healthcare. So with that, I'm going to open the floor to some questions. We got about 20 minutes left. I'm sure some of you guys are going to have some technical questions, and I'm super excited to answer them. So I'm going to turn it back over to Christy and Hia, and then we can start with the question rounds.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Yeah, we do have a few minutes for Q&A. I will say that is quite a story, and I'm sure everybody on the line is probably as impressed as I am with your journey, your ability to pivot, recognize that you needed to pivot, and do that work that's involved there to make that happen. So let me grab a couple questions from the chat box. Well, a comment from somebody that kind of reiterates that. What a compelling story of resilience and perseverance. So awesome there. See, I have a question about a timeline for regulatory compliance.
Sure.
What does that look like? Some of your, I guess, products were not needing to go through FDA approval, but I think some do.
Yes.
What does the timeline look like for that?
So we are pragmatic in our thoughts about timelines for FDA approval of this device. That's why we're kind of taking the approach of going to market first as a non-FDA approved device. So we understand that for the full scope of what we envision with this device, it could be decades before we get full FDA approval for everything that we want to monitor. We're doing it one step at a time. Our first swing in it is going to be with C. diff. We're applying for the 510K this year, after we get the results back from our clinical trials with Cleveland Clinic, and we expect a year or two before we get approval for that use case. So we're going to be in market as a health and fitness device for quite a while as we plan it. We understand that there are quite a few challenges in regulatory compliance. Breath biomarkers are a very, very new area in FDA approval. There's not a whole lot of devices who have approval that we can use as predicates. So there's some challenges there. Luckily, we're a class 1, so there's not a whole lot of interaction with the human. We're not putting anything in. We're just taking a live breath sample. So there are definitely challenges there, but luckily we have a great team of regulatory compliant people who are looking at that path and ensuring that as we design it, we're staying in compliance so that when we get to that point, it's an easier path than just finishing the product and arriving at the FDA's door. So we're working with several consultants to allow us to basically pre-plan for the challenges we're aware are ahead. But it's going to be a process. This is not going to be an overnight success in clinical diagnostics.
Okay. And with all of this innovation and working with regulatory compliance, et cetera, along those lines, how are you protecting data privacy, security when you're collecting this type of information?
Well, great question, first of all, because that's probably one of the core concerns of any type of health platform. It's the data. How do you protect the data? How do you anonymize it? How do you keep it from getting into the wrong hands? And how does it belong with the patient? And our approach is that our data belongs and stays with the user. We get can't say that word, anonymized data that gives us metrics without tying it to a particular patient. So there's always a level of separation between the patient or the user and the data that we receive. Now, the user who owns his own data will have all of that information through their account. But us as a company, we don't have the ability to send that patient-specific data to anyone else. We have only anonymous data that gives us breath prints and metrics and data, but without jeopardizing the security of that person's personal health data. And one of the projects we're using this device in involves the military. So data protection is of the utmost concern, and it's baked into our software processes.
Okay. All right, next question. Do you anticipate this technology working for children? And how do you envision this in the market for children's preventative health?
Absolutely. The number one proponent of this technology is going to be mom. What do you do when Jeff has the sniffles? You're going to want to know where their metabolic system is, whether they have the flu or it's just a cold, whether they have lung disease or it's just the flu. So those we do plan on being able to use this in children, and part of our study process is in the very unique metabolic function of children. But our kind of core market is for families. Most of our users are going to be families at home. A lot of them will receive this device through their work. It might be, like you get the Fitbit from your health insurance. It's going to be introduced that way, but the primary use is at home with the entire family. The mom might want to, better her health, but she also wants to be able to monitor the health of her kids. And the way that we do that is that this device is designed to be modular. So you have heads that, each member of the family can have their own sensor head. And this device, if I put any sensor head on this device, the sensor head's attached to that individual's account. So one device can be in a home, and all the members of the family can use this device for their ongoing screening. So yeah, the family is one of our target user bases.
Okay. What is the projected service life? How long does it work before replacement?
Sure.
How long can it sit on the shelf without losing capability?
That's one of the areas that we actually focus an enormous amount of attention on. And the question is, how often can the sensor be reset? How long does it take to reset? How many times can it be used before it's saturated and it has to be tossed away? That series of questions is what prompted the removable sensor head. Now, the sensor itself can last 5 years without any major problems. In fact, some of the first sensors that we started beta testing are still being used today. But saturation is an issue. And each person has a different lifestyle. They eat different things, they drink different things. Some smoke, some don't. So the lifespan is up to 3 years, but we expect that these will be replaced every 90 days to 120 days. They're very, very inexpensive. They're designed to be reusable. And we have several different steps, though, to refresh those sensors and keep them active and sensitive. We've studied several different reset mechanisms that allow for this sensor to be used up to 3 years. But we want to be realistic. So we're saying that pretty much 90 days to 120 days, you're going to replace the $17 sensor head with a new one. But this system will let you know when that time is. So we run diagnostics before every single sample, and it lets us know where that sensor sensitivity is compared to the last sample and compared to the very first sample. So so it's designed to be a year to 3 years in general use, but that's for the device itself, about 3 years for the device. And the sensor head, it could last up to 3 years, but we expect 120 days is when a user will replace it. So, 2 or 3 a year of these sensor heads for use. And the goal will be to make these sensor heads as cheap as possible. I don't really want to make money from the sensor head. I want to provide the outcome. So these sensor heads will make, our goal is to make those relatively inexpensively.
Okay, so speaking of cost, so it sounded like unit cost of the sensor heads was about $17. What's the projected unit cost of the device?
So the whole device, we're estimating a cost of $299. Now, it costs us about $50 to make the device at scale. So, eventually we'll get that price down to $129. That's the target scaled price. But entry into market is going to be comparable to many at-home monitoring devices or smart devices, which is $299.
Okay. And ink type. 1 second. Okay. Are you working with insurance companies, or is this going to be a direct to
Oh,
consumer?
no, insurance companies are going to be one of our major buyers. So we're working with a wonderful consultant named Dr. Susan Zhu, who helps us basically get um, great recoupment. I'm sorry, name of it. Uh, Medical reimbursement. I'm sorry, medical reimbursement for these devices. They can be used by telehealth providers. They can be distributed by health insurance companies as part of their wellness programs. So one of our beachhead markets is going to be wellness programs from insurance companies that want to promote healthier lifestyles in their employer or employee programs. So yeah, insurance companies would be one of our initial target. In fact, they're number one on our list of initial beachhead sales targets is the wellness programs from health insurance companies.
Okay, great. I'm going to try to get to one or two more questions. Thank you all for
Okay.
sending them. Just for your awareness, if we don't get them to your questions today, we'll try to get back via email with some answers because we're running close to end of time here. But so, Chris, can you explain? Are you integrating an app as a interface for results?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. There's an app and there's also a PC dashboard. The app is really designed to steer human behavior. So when we measure these chemicals, we're not just going to tell you, hey, there's something wrong. The point is to inform you on what to do about it. So our app, when we read, for instance, high acetane or acetone levels, we're going to tell you what you can do, what exercises you can do, what dietary supplements you can take, what nutrition you can take over the next 10, 15 days to start get that trend back under control. So our app is really about nudging lifestyle, nudging healthy lifestyles. And we're measuring mainly the result of your metabolism, the result of your food intake, and then how that food's converted to energy. That's what the metabolism is doing. So yes, one of our main functions is going to be just that.
Okay, great. Thanks. And for the last question, if you could close on commenting about your relationship with NASA, is it continuing? Do you still have collaborative opportunities regarding the technology?
Oh,
What does that look
absolutely.
like?
What we realized is that this is going to be, I'm going to say, a permanent relationship because our license, we have a 20-year license that we can renew every 20 years. But what we've learned is that as our company grows, there's a whole list of IP that we can license from NASA because this is one of our first commercial projects, but we have a queue of several other projects that we're now viewing NASA as a wonderful resource for grabbing technologies that can boost those projects in ways that we wouldn't be able to invest ourselves into. Our company doesn't have the research and development dollars that have been poured into these technologies available. So it's a long-term relationship in terms of new technologies in the future, but it's also an ongoing research relationship. So licensing the technology is one piece, but the NASA Space Act Agreement, that's where the power is. The Space Act Agreement is a reimbursable program that allows us to invest money into research as long as it's at a NASA lab or with a NASA facility or facilities team. We can get reimbursed for the amount of research that we need to put into this. And the amount of research needed for this is staggering. It's going to be in the several tens of millions of dollars to achieve our goal. And the way that we continually fund that is through the RSAA that allows us to put money in. And after a period of time, we get the money back so we can keep that cycling. And we view that as a permanent solution to R&D for us. We view using these RSAA agreements as an ongoing way for us, to keep our balance sheet so that we're not putting all of our R&D dollars on one side of the balance sheet when we need to keep it on the other. So that allows us to really, really get progress without tying up our assets long term. So this is going to be a forever project.
All right. Thanks so much, Chris. That is all the time that we have for today. Your story is incredibly inspiring. And congratulations to you and your team for all of your successes thus far. And for everybody who joined today, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. Hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. And there's some notes in chat that let you know that you'll get a recording of the webinar and the Q&A session as well.